Hi, I'm Jamie Munro, assistant lacrosse coach at Yale University and co-founder, along with head coach Mike Waldvogel, of the Run and Shoot Lacrosse Progression. This progression is the first comprehensive teaching method for the game of lacrosse designed to develop the complete player. We have researched proven teaching methods from other sports to develop a progression applicable to all skill levels and ages. The Run and Shoot Lacrosse Progression has 5 components: athletic skills, cross control, off-ball control, ball control, and field control. In this video, we will concentrate on athletic skills, cross control, and a special section on facing off.
The athletic skills portion of this program is designed to teach you how to prepare yourself to be an elite level lacrosse player. There are certain fundamental skills that all great athletes have in common: great strength, flexibility, and speed. This program is a basic overview of how you can improve in those 3 areas. Power. The production of the most amount of force in the least amount of time is vital to lacrosse. Whether it's a shot, a check, a move, a dodge, power is essential to great lacrosse skill. Strength is important because it allows an athlete to stop and start effectively. The following exercises are some basic but effective ways to improve your strength. The force you produce with your legs is essential to running faster and shooting harder with more velocity. These exercises demonstrate ways to strengthen your legs in areas that will help you run as well as shoot more effectively. The ankle flips that you are seeing help develop calf strength, which helps you toe off more effectively when you sprint. Notice the heels never touch the ground. The calf can produce up to 30% of your force production in your legs. Notice it will show several calf strengthening exercises. This is called a double-footed ankle flip, or ankle flips using 2 feet. Again, the heels don't touch the ground, and we're very forceful with our feet in a flipper-type motion. These are standing calf raises. The athlete lowers the heels and then contracts them forcefully upward. On-offs are again an effective way to develop ankle elasticity and gastroc or calf strength. Upper leg strength through a full range of motion is essential in producing maximal force. This is called lunge walking. Notice the hip level below the knee and the back position being very vertical, allowing the athlete to develop stronger and more flexible hip and legs. The same is true for the exaggerated shuffle. Notice the hip level and the vertical position of the back. Excellent for developing flexibility and strength through the hips. This exercise is called clawing. It utilizes the hamstrings to pull the center of gravity forward. Lateral running is great for developing side-to-side movement skills. The performance of a full squat is the basis of our strength program. Proper squatting results in increased hip flexibility, leg strength, and back stability, all essential in producing maximal force. Notice the position of the proper squat: back vertical, head neutral. The same can be said for the one-legged squat. Notice the depth of the hips being slightly lower than the knee, with the knee staying just in front of the ankle, never going in front of the toe. The lunge is another great exercise for developing leg strength, as well as hip flexibility. Notice the position of the upper body as well as the knee in correct performance of this exercise. The knee stays directly over the ankle, the back stays extremely vertical. Leg strength can have bone-jarring impact. Lateral force production can be accomplished through doing a lunge exercise laterally. It is done in a similar fashion as a straight ahead lunge, just stepping off to the side. Notice the back position is still vertical and the knee is over the ankle. Back stability is essential in being able to transfer force developed by the legs through the center of gravity. This is one way of developing back stability. Opposite arm, opposite leg, upper body in a nice straight line. The next exercise in the development of back stability are called hyperextensions. Notice the parallel position to the floor of the upper body with the athlete pulling with his hamstrings, gluteals, and lower back. Notice how force is transferred from the legs through the lower back and into the velocity of this shot. Amazing. Hyperextensions are a great way of developing that force, transferring strength. Notice the position of the upper body, parallel to the ground, with the head in a neutral position. Abdominal strength plays a large role in transferring force from the legs to the upper body. Here's a jackknife sit-up, which is excellent for developing abdominal strength. Scoops are another fine way of developing abdominal strength. Notice the position of the upper body as the heels come in towards the buttocks. The abdominals pull the upper body to a vertical position. Traditional sit-ups are also an excellent way of developing abdominal strength. Make sure to keep the heels near the buttocks to reduce the amount of work done by the quadriceps. Rotational strength of the torso is essential for developing a more forceful pass or shot. Rotational strength is a key in developing shot velocity. Flexibility is essential to an athlete's speed, strength, and balance because it allows one to lower their center of gravity. This is fundamental in maximizing acceleration and deceleration. NFL star Barry Sanders is an excellent example of this. If you increase your flexibility, you will improve your performance. Here are some basic but effective exercises that will increase your flexibility. Our flexibility work starts from the ankle and works up to the lower back and hip region. All of our exercises are done in sets and reps, usually 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps on each segment. Notice that we use opposite muscles to relax the muscle that we're trying to stretch. In this case, in the calf stretch, we're contracting the quadricep, the front of the shin, to allow the calf or the back of the shin to relax. As well as in this hamstring stretch, where the shin is flexed as well as the quadricep to allow the hamstring and the gastroc or calf to stretch. Here is a groin stretch where we are using the outer aspect of the leg to allow the inner aspect of the leg to relax. This is a hip stretch where we're trying to work on our external rotation. Notice the athlete rotates his quadriceps out while the partner assists in pressing the feet towards the ground. This is an internal rotation stretch where we're trying to develop internal rotation of the hips. Hip flexibility is essential in being able to run laterally as well as drop step and sprint behind. Again, our rotational flexibility assists in a stronger shot. The further our range of motion, the more force we can produce. The exercise is done in both directions, although we'll only show it here in one. In the world of athletics, speed is the key difference between levels of play. In advancing from high school to college to the professional level, it is those athletes who improve their speed who continue to have success. In this section, we will teach you techniques to develop and maximize your speed potential. The components of speed are simple. Stride length times stride rate. Improve one or both and you'll improve your speed. Improving your speed will result in better closing abilities, and better chances of creating separation and scoring opportunities. Our basic warm-up consists of high knee marching, high knee skipping, and high knee running. This is the high knee march. Notice how we're warming up our back and our hips, as well as our lower leg, coming up on our toe in a triple extension manner. Our skipping again warms up our lower leg as well as our hips. It is developed with the intent of trying to develop a stronger running cycle. These are high knee runs. Notice the toe up, heel up, step over the knee type motion of the cycle. Butt kicks have a similar philosophy. Toe up, heel up, step over the knee as we try to shorten the leg to make it come over the knee much quicker and take faster steps. These butt kicks are designed to develop your hamstring strength, which will help your heels fire and step over the knee much quicker. This is called the fast leg drill. Notice how we alternate legs and practice the running cycle. Toe up, heel up, step over the knee, and snap down to the ground with the heel not touching. Speed ladder drills help reinforce running technique as well as improving foot firing frequency, or stride rate. Notice the athlete's heels never touch the ground. This is essential in developing ankle elasticity and improving force production from the knee down. The spacing of the ladder forces the athlete to take faster steps, improving stride rate. Strengthening of the hip flexors is important with the speed ladder as well. Notice the high knee action helps improve hip flexor or upper thigh strength. Skipping is also vital in improving hip flexor strength, which is essential in faster running. The biomechanics of the sprint cycle are reinforced through the speed ladder. Toe up, heel up, stepping over the knee. Wide skipping again improves hip flexor flexibility as well as hip range of motion. Hopping drills help improve ankle elasticity and force production through the lower leg as well as the upper legs. Notice the low hips and the heels not touching the ground. Poor footwork and a high center of gravity can be costly. In this lateral ladder drill, you see we're working on our footwork as well as our stopping and starting. Lateral footwork is essential in cutting and creating scoring and passing opportunities. In this lateral shuffling drill, we're concentrating on lead foot frequency. In other words, don't cross your feet. The drills you can perform in the speed ladder can be as diverse as your imagination. Here's a lateral drill where we actually work on vertical foot positioning, forward and backward, front to back while moving right to left. Rapid foot movement is essential in being able to cut. Here we train our feet to buzz or pat down at every cone. This helps us improve our decelerating abilities. Notice in slow motion how the feet buzz or pitter-pat before they stop. Here's an excellent example of buzzing your feet to decelerate and create separation. Great footwork and a low center of gravity enable for better spins or rolls. Here we work with cone drills again to perfect our roll dodge using fast foot fire and a low center of gravity. Cone drills are used to develop deceleration ability and acceleration ability. It's through these functions that we can better close or create separation on offense and defense. Here's a highlight demonstrating those things. The rest of our cone drills again work on accelerating and decelerating. We try to run them against each other to make things more competitive. Circular running is a great way to strengthen the ankles and to overcome centrifugal forces. People that can corner are often better able to escape other people. Here's an escape drill that we run in a figure-8 motion. Notice the body lean and the acceleration in a low, angled manner.
Cross control, the second part of the run and shoot lacrosse progression, is vitally important to the development of the complete player. Here, we will teach all of the skills and techniques associated with great stick work.
Well, the question can come up of handedness. A basketball player must learn to drive with left hand and right hand, shoot with left hand and right hand. The point that there is that if you learn to do it with one hand, you can generally transfer to the mirror your training with one hand with not too much difficulty. Mickey Mantle was, of course, a switch hitter. He had to learn then only one pattern of pitching. He only had to learn how to hit in curves. He never had to learn how to hit out curves. So this gave him then an advantage in learning, which compensated for the fact that he had to learn to swing the bat from both directions. The transfer was from the right-handed to the mirror left-handed is for many people, and it was for Mickey, rather easy. The skill you could develop right-handed then transferred to the same skill left-handed in a mirror fashion. And I can give kind of an example of that. Let me just write lacrosse here. So I write it right-handed. Now I'll write it mirror left-handed. And the handwriting's the same. And I don't practice this. I've basically never done this before, but my right-handed skill transferred to the left-handed mirror skill.
The first thing we want to teach is the grip of the stick. We would like to utilize the fingers and the thumbs in order to grip the stick firmly, but not tightly. Here, we're showing bottom hand control. We're showing range and flexion and strength. We need to be able to control the stick at the end of the stick. Here's a perfect example. The player is able to hold the stick away from the defense. Here we're working on top hand control. The top hand controls the head of the stick and allows for tight control of the stick. It is vital to have top hand control if you're going to have great cross control. Here we're working on cradling and switching hands, especially at the end of the stick. Notice the flexion and strength it takes to control the ball in the stick. Our cradles are oftentimes body movements or wrist movements. Either way, it is centrifugal force that is keeping the ball in the stick. Here, Mac is demonstrating how to cradle the ball in the stick in tight to your body. Notice the wrist action, and notice that he's switching hands very quickly and efficiently. The ability to switch hands quickly is a characteristic of players with great cross control. Here, Mac is going to demonstrate how to switch hands and bring the stick across his body. Notice he'll do it in two ways. He'll either push the stick across his body or he'll pull it across. Both are very important and effective ways of switching hands. Even long sticks can execute the pull move, as Duncan McQuaig does here as he's taking the ball in to score. The flip is a very important skill to learn in the game of lacrosse. Here we're working on flipping within the part hole method. Notice we have one hand on our stick as we flip the ball to ourselves, getting a feel for the flip. Here's an example of a flip in a game situation. It allows Mac to get free for a great shot. Here's another one. Watch Mac drive in and give a little behind the back flip when he gets double teamed. Great play. Now we're working on part hole ground balls. The bottom hand is the key to scooping. If we can push the bottom hand through the ball, we will be more effective at scooping through the ball. Here we're working on two-hand scooping. Notice Mac kisses the stick as he brings it up to his face with a small cradle. When we scoop, we want to get our hips low in order both to pick the ball up and protect the stick from a defender. Many times, long sticks have to be creative when going after ground balls, as their long stick is a great target for a riding attackman. Here's some great technique, picking up the ground ball, keeping it away from the defense. Here's another example of creativity by a long stick. Here's a great ground ball by a defender utilizing the length of his stick to his advantage. A great tactic in ground ball play is to draw a push, just like that. Here, we're working on part hole catching. Notice we're catching the ball with the bottom hand on our stick, developing strength that many players don't even realize that they need. Here's a perfect example of where bottom hand range comes into play. Great catch. Now we're working on part hole top hand. Notice the target that we give for the feeder to aim at. Notice the hips are slightly lowered and there's a giving motion as if we were catching an egg. Here's an example of where Mac catches the ball with one hand, very similar to our part hole drill. Remember, it's incredibly important to give a good target, and all great players do it. Here's a perfect target and then a perfect pass. Catching the ball over your shoulder, otherwise known as the snively look, is a very important aspect of cross control. Here Mac is showing the snively. Here's another example. Many times a snively will happen when the ball's out top and you're cutting underneath the defense. It allows you to catch the ball and already be facing the cage. Now we're working on defensive stick position. Notice off the ball, the defender is looking to knock down passes at all times. Here's a perfect example in a live game situation. On the ball, the defender wants to have his stick on stick, always looking to poke. Here, notice the ball carrier utilizes the length of his stick to protect it from the defense. Here, the ball carrier is holding the stick in tight to his body while maintaining his body between the defense and his stick. Here, with the defense behind the ball carrier must kiss the stick in order to protect it from the defense. Here's a live example of the same thing. Kiss the stick with the defense behind the ball carrier. Now we're going to show stick position on rolls and turns. Notice the ball carrier does not switch hands until he is out of the turn. Here's some game footage illustrating the same technique. Here's an example of bad protection. If the ball carrier switches hands too soon like this, here we're working on ground ball technique and stick position as we kiss the stick. Watch what happens when the ball carrier doesn't kiss the stick on the ground ball with the defense behind. Here we're working on stick position on flips. Notice both the flipper and the receiver have their sticks to the outside of the defense. Accurate passing with proper technique is essential for great cross control. Here are 4 points of emphasis. Throw the ball overhand, step towards your target, follow through towards your target, and lift your hands up and away from your body on your throw. And finally, keeping your bottom hand up and away from your body is essential.
Hi, here I am from the Great Wall of China Beach, San Francisco. I'm here to try to teach you some new concepts in throwing a lacrosse ball that may make you rethink the way you throw it and may really help improve your game.
Throwing a lacrosse ball is both a pushing and a pulling motion. It is vital that in our development that we utilize both the top hand and the bottom hand to develop our throwing motion. Here, as you can see, we are following through by letting go with our top hand, developing our bottom hand strength and our pulling motion. Here's another example. Many people are taught to throw a lacrosse ball like a baseball. We would like to re-emphasize the point that throwing a lacrosse ball is both a pushing and a pulling motion, and this part-hole drill is excellent for developing the pulling aspect of throwing a lacrosse ball. Here the ball carrier will release his stick in the same manner as we were in our drill, letting go with his top hand for a quick shot. Here we are showing part-hole top hand passing. That feed across the crease was definitely a push on the top hand. We definitely need to have top hand control. Utilizing our wrists and snapping them in our throwing motion is a big key to successful passing and shooting. Here we're holding our stick like a baseball bat and snapping the ball out of it. The next thing we'd like to work on is quick sticks. Notice Mac having a catch with the Barry McGee mural in which he's quick sticking the ball and he's aiming for a spot in the eye socket of the mural. The wall is a great place to learn how to quick stick the ball, and quick sticking is a great skill to have if you want to have great cross control, that is. Here, you'll notice a nice 30-yard pass on the money, a nice pass across the crease, and Max showing us his quick stick on the shot. Notice the quick stick pass here. Notice the one-handed release for the quick shot. Learning how to pass behind your back is an important aspect in cross control. Behind the back passes and shots are a skill like anything else, and they need to be practiced in order to be mastered. Passes behind the back allow the player to pass quickly without having to roll back. In addition, when you pass the ball behind your back, your stick is completely protected from the defense. Here's a defenseman showing us a shovel pass, another great aspect of cross control.
Now I want to talk a little bit about stick fakes, passing and shooting fakes. There's nothing that really makes a defense react more off the ball than a pass or a stick fake. It'll also sometimes fake the man that's covering you. When I want to fake with my feet, I'm just simply going to step at the target with my stick in a throwing position. If I want to fake with my body, I simply want to open my body to a direction that I'm not going to throw it while still being able to throw it straight.
We cannot emphasize enough the importance of faking passes and shots. The defense is constantly anticipating what the offense is going to do. Therefore, the offense must constantly fake passes and shots in order to freeze the defense or to make the defense falsely anticipate something. Watch the players off the ball, as well as the players on the ball, react to these pass and shot fakes. Here's a perfect example. The player on the ball jumps, allowing a good passing lane. As we show it again, watch the two players down low as they move towards the inside on the body turn of the pass fake. Here, watch the ball carrier fake 36 into the middle and free up a passing alley for the shot. Sometimes we pass in combinations with both our body, feet, and hands. But always our stick is in a cocked position, ready to pass or shoot. Watch this pass fake, setting up the penetration. Watch this pass fake, causing the defender to actually run to X as the goal is scored. It is vital for a defenseman to utilize pass fakes as his long stick makes it cumbersome to dodge. Usually, utilizing the fake with the feet is the best way to make the attackman overcommit.
Well, it's one of the things one might think about, worth thinking about, is the time scales required on shots and also on guarding the goal. If you shoot the ball at 100 miles an hour, which is probably about the maximum, let's say you're shooting from 20 yards away. Well, then the motion of the racket required to get the ball up to that velocity will take about 6-7 tenths of a second. Then the ball in its flight will take about 4 tenths of a second. The goalie can move anywhere to cover the goal in a tenth of a second, although if he doesn't know where it's going to go, it can take him an extra tenth. But that's like 2 tenths of a second. So you're never going to score against a competent goalie from 20 yards out. Now from 10 yards out, now you're cutting the flight time down to about 2 tenths of a second, and you've got a chance, but it's still a bit marginal. Now you go inside, say down to 5 yards, now you've got a big advantage over the goalie. The flight of the ball will only take about a tenth of a second, and even if the ball isn't thrown terribly hard, that won't make all that much difference, because the goalie now still will take about 2 tenths of a second to cover the whole goal if he does not know what direction you're going to shoot. So you want to rely on misdirection. So you want to snap the stick so that it is in a short arc. So if you leave go of it very soon, the ball goes in one direction. If you hold it a little longer, the ball goes in another direction. And you want to make it then maximally difficult then for the goalie to read that. It's just a little like in table tennis, where if you snap a shot with your backhand, you have a lot of misdirection. You might not hit it as hard as your forehand, but you can hit it to either corner of the table, and it'll be difficult for the defender then to return the shot. Or volleying in tennis. The misdirection is more important then than any high velocity on the ball.
The first point we'd like to make about shooting is the idea of shot selection. We want to be taking all of our shots from inside 10 to 12 yards. Another aspect of shot selection is attempting to shoot the ball with the maximum amount of angle. Notice when we shoot with our stick to the inside of the field, our angle is increased. If Jay McMahon were to shoot left-handed from here, he would have a very small chance of scoring. Now we'd have no chance. But as he switches the stick to the inside, it opens up a tremendous amount of angle, allowing him to score the goal.
3 keys to shooting are accuracy, quickness, and deception. Accuracy is attained mostly by throwing the ball overhand. If I'm throwing the ball overhand here, you'll see that the ball really doesn't have much margin for error side to side. The only adjustments that I have to make are going to be high and low adjustments, and oftentimes that'll still score a goal for you. The second key is quickness. I want to use my wrists. I don't want to push the ball with my arm. I want that ball to go by that goalie as quickly as it possibly can, with the quickest possible release. The third key to shooting is deception. I don't want the goalie to know when I'm going to shoot it, and I also don't want the goalie to be able to see my stick. If I can hide my stick behind my head, behind my shoulders, my back, or my hands, it's going to make it very difficult for him to read the shot and where it's going to go.
Here are some demos on shooting. Notice the overhand throw gives an accurate shot. We usually want to try to aim for the off-stick side and try to throw the ball in the air between the knee and the hip. Notice the hands going up frees the goalie. Here, the shooter looks like he's shooting it low, but bounces it high. A great deceptive shot. Whatever you do, don't shoot it at the goalie's feet. It's the easiest save for him to make. Here, the shooter is gaining angle with every step and shoots a nice shot, off stick side, hip high, with good quickness and deception. Here's an interesting deceptive shot. The shooter is going to look like he's shooting the ball low. Notice the goalie's stick dips slightly as the ball whizzes by his right ear. This is a great example of deception. The shooter doesn't look like he's doing anything, and all of a sudden the ball's in the cage, completely deceiving the goalie. Now we'd like to talk about finishing in a one-on-one situation. Notice the shooter wraps his stick around the goalie. One common mistake made by people when they're shooting one-on-one with a goalie is that they try to shoot the ball overhand, which usually means that they end up hitting the goalie. What we really want to do is shoot the ball around the goalie. We will deceive the goalie in exactly the same way as our normal shooting, with our hands and our body. A key point in finishing is to remember, always have your stick cocked and ready to shoot. If you fake and turn your stick over, it just means you have to reload to shoot. Let's watch as some great players execute some great finishes. This is a dip and dunk. My brother Neil comes in, dips low, shoots it high. And then there are many combinations and improvisations, as Neil shows again his finishing prowess. Here's some great cross control. Notice the backhand shot. The player has to make a quick adjustment to avoid the defense and is gaining angle on his shot. That's an exciting play. The behind the back shot is not just for show. There are a lot of good reasons to develop this skill. For one, it's very deceptive. The goalie just can't see it coming out. And for another, it actually increases your angle, as if you were shooting with your stick to the inside. Many times, players need to catch a ball and shoot very quickly due to the situation they're in. The behind-the-back shot can come in very handy in these situations. Here's a perfect example of just getting it off. Now we want to show you some exercises that will help you develop your cross control. First, your wall has got to be your best friend. Great players have all spent a lot of time on the wall, as Jim McAlevey has. Here, Jim's doing his favorite wall drill. It's the quick stick with the switching of hands. Whether you're short stick or long stick, you got to pay your dues on the wall. Here's Dan Detola, three-time All-American from Yale. He's definitely paid his dues. Hey, remember, have fun with it and be creative. Here's a little creativity. As soon as we have any proficiency in a skill, we would like to combine athletic skills with cross control. Here we're doing an overspeed drill, just like our pro agility, in which we're just simply running with the ball in our stick. This is a figure 8 drill. Here, we continue to develop our skills at full speed. Remember, if you ever drop the ball, finish the drill. It is the speed that's the most important part. If you practice your skills at full speed, your skills will catch up to the speed. Here we're having a little fun with a bungee cord, working on shooting at full speed. We do not believe in line drills. What we would prefer to do is have more realistic drills. Here, we're just running pairs. Notice that we have sticks to the inside here. We have an up-tempo drill. We increase the speed as the practice goes along. Here we have 3-man, sticks to the outside. Here, we have a simple monkey in the middle drill. We feel the keep-away drills are a great way to develop cross control. Notice all the stick fakes. Notice the give and goes, the creation of passing lanes, and the defense working on knocking the ball down. Here, we're going 3-on-2. Notice that the players move so that they are adjacent to the ball at all times. This is a great drill to run in a 10 by 10 box. Here we've progressed to 4-on-2. We do not, however, have 4 players standing around in a box. You'll notice that the players are executing give and goes every single time they pass it. Notice the give and goes, the quick sticks, carrying the ball, passing it back. This is just like running an offense. We even have our goalie in there. We feel that unevens to the cage are a great way to develop cross control. They're just like keep-away drills with the addition of shooting. Be creative in how you align your players, like this 3-on-2 with one sneak man from behind. Remember to stress good ball movement, ball reversal, and maybe most importantly, pass and shot fakes. Unevens are a great way and a fun way to develop your team and to develop great cross control. Face-offs are a key component in all wins and losses because they allow you to mount a comeback or maintain possession to hold a lead. The following section, outlined and demonstrated by Andy Towers, one of the premier face-off men in the country, will teach you how to win face-offs. Here, Andy Towers, former 2-time first-team All-American from Brown, will demonstrate for us proper face-off technique. First, you must be comfortable in your stance. Be as close to the ball as possible with no weight on your hands. You want to face the ball and you want your hands to be in the same position on your stick every time down. One hand should be as close to the neck as possible, while the other hand should be about 10 inches from the end. Your eyes should be focused on his stick at first and then on the ball. The stick should be in your fingertips and not in your palms. The first face-off we're going to work on is called the quick clamp, in which you're going to simply make a fist with your left hand in order to clamp on the ball. You clamp with your fist, not with your wrist. Crowd the ball, meaning get as close to the ball with your stick as possible. Make a fist and push out with your left hand. Your fist should never break. With your right hand, slightly pull and reverse clamp so that your stick comes straight down over the ball. The next move is called the 2 fingers move. Like the quick clamp, it's also a speed move. You want a reverse clamp motion with your left hand. Punch your left hand up and out, and with your right hand, use your 2 fingers and aim for the center top of your opponent's stick. Jam his stick with the 2 fingers on your right hand and pull through with your right hand for a fast break in a sweeping type motion. The next move is called the quick rake. Again, crowd the ball with your stick, meaning line up as close as possible. Your hands should remain quiet in the beginning, and your right hand should power through the ball. If you're on grass, your left hand should snap back with your stick facing the ground and accelerate through the ball. If on turf, your stick will stay up a little bit more vertical. This is a great move to set yourself up for a fast break. The next move Andy's going to teach is called the drive clamp, or the power clamp. Again, crowd the ball. Be as close to the ball as possible. The move is essentially the same as the quick clamp, but the stick must slide down the line to the right, trying to make no contact with your opponent's stick and trying to jam the ball into the stopper of your stick. Notice Andy's left hand never fully breaks. He is simply making a fist. The next face-off Andy will teach is the 2 fingers move versus the drive clamp. The two fingers move again is a speed move, and it is exactly the same as two fingers versus a quick clamp with one slight adjustment. You must move your right hand down the line to compensate for the movement down the line of your opponent who's executing a drive clamp. The next move Andy teaches is called the claw, which is very similar to the two fingers move. The only difference now is your finger combination. Notice he's using his middle finger, his ring finger, and his pinky now to stop the opponent's stick, while keeping his index finger and his thumb around the stick. The claw is a stepping stone from the two fingers move. This move is slightly more effective than the two fingers move because you can stop the player's rake. He cannot rake underneath your stick the way he might be able to against the two fingers move. The next move is called the chop. Like the other moves, this is a speed move. Your stick should be in the fingertips of your right hand, and you should make a fist with your right hand. Lift your left hand up 1 inch and over 1 inch, and pull it back when you're over the ball. The last move Andy teaches is called the laser rake, and is very similar to the two fingers and the claw. But instead of your left hand going up and out, you want your left hand to go halfway up and halfway out. Your right hand will come over the ball and you'll rake it through. You will make no contact with your player's stick, but rather just pull the ball through as quickly as possible. This is the ultimate in speed moves. Welcome back to the Run and Shoot Lacrosse progression. In Volume 1, we introduced the progression and demonstrated how one can become a better athlete as well as how to master the stick skills of the game. In this volume, we will cover the final 3 components of the Run and Shoot Lacrosse progression: off-ball control, ball control, and finally, field control. The third section of the Run and Shoot Lacrosse progression is off-ball control. We feel that off-ball and on-ball, offense and defense, are exactly the same with regard to the fundamental elements of footwork. A key concept in the Run and Shoot Lacrosse progression is the emphasis of off-ball instruction before ball control instruction. There are 2 reasons why we teach off-ball control first. 1, the majority of the game is played both offensively and defensively without the ball. And 2, the greater skill level required for ball control limits the player's ability to move at top speed and to see the field. In this section, we will teach you the necessary techniques to play great off-ball offense and defense.
There's a lot of similarities between the game of basketball and lacrosse, and The toughest thing I think to teach in the game of basketball is how to move without the basketball. Most good players know what to do when the defense sags back on them. They shoot the basketball, and if somebody plays them too tight, they're willing to drive and penetrate to the basket. But I think where a lot of players run into a lot of difficulty, and it really separates the good player from the great player, is what do you do when you don't have the basketball to create a scoring opportunity either for yourself or for a teammate.
As we've already stated, off-ball control and ball control are identical with regard to footwork. Here, we're going to show some examples of exactly what we mean. Here in our off-ball control section, we would first like to continue to draw the parallels between the moves one makes on the ball and off the ball. The first thing we teach is the speed move. It's the first move and the most important move to master. As you can see here, the player makes a great move using his speed to create separation and get open. To blow by your opponent with speed is your most effective weapon. On the ball, there is no difference. Speed kills, and here the midfielder uses a great fake to open up a speed move opportunity. By threatening your speed, you can then stop on a dime and cut back against the grain on a counter move. The counter move is the second move we're going to teach, and as you can see, off the ball and on the ball, the footwork is exactly the same. Here, 23 catches the pass and fakes to his left and cuts back against the grain, leaving the defenseman behind. The third move we teach is the turn. This is when you have to turn your back to the defense. There are advantages and disadvantages to turning your back to the defense, and here we'll show you both. Firstly, turning your back allows you to protect your stick in both off and on-ball situations. Secondly, it is deceptive. Here you can see how the off-ball turn works to your benefit. Here, the attacker drives towards the middle and is turned back by the defense. By turning his back to the defense, he has protected his stick and opened up his opportunities to shoot. The exact same move we just saw off the ball. The pop out is the fourth move we teach. When the defense has shut down our moves towards the cage, we can cut to the perimeter and get wide open. Here you can see the attacking player driving towards the cage and the defenseman being trapped to the inside. Beautiful pop out. But the most important aspect of the game of lacrosse, and all sports for that matter, is the ability to see the field. Defensively, this will allow you to be in a help position as well as knock down passes. Offensively, seeing the field will allow you to read the situation and make proper decisions. As you can see, the long stick running upfield sees he has a clear 4-on-3. Likewise, the attackman sees an open man that he passes to almost in a quick stick manner. Great job seeing the field and a great play. Even in a ground ball situation, it's imperative to see the field. Here, number 10 picks up the ball and already knows where the open man is, resulting in a quick score. Defensively, the first thing we're going to teach you off the ball is a proper shade. A shade simply means having your body in a passing or a cutting lane of your offensive player. We want to shade towards the ball in a flat triangle between your man and the ball. It is vital that we keep our body in the passing and cutting lanes. Again, this is called shading. Here you're going to see a perfect example of a defender shading towards the ball, remaining in a flat triangle and allowing him to knock down the feed. Plays like this can result in quick offense. The key to your off-ball position is to think of it as ball, you, man, BYM. If you can stay between the ball and your man, you will be able to make plays like this. Notice the defender covering the attackman coming to get the ball in a position where he can not only knock the pass down, he's there to meet the pass as it arrives. Here behind the cage, it's the same thing. Notice the defender arriving at the scene exactly when the ball gets there, forcing the turnover. Watch the man covering number 16. He's in a position between his man and the cage, not his man and the ball. This allows 16 to get open on a picking situation. Here's another example. People have a tendency to cover their man between the man and the cage, and here's why it can hurt. Notice the pop out cannot be stopped. Great athletes in all sports can see the field. Here, we're going to teach you the technique that you can practice in order to see the field. It's called squaring up. Squaring up happens both off the ball and on the ball. Notice number 5, squaring up off the ball, giving himself both space and time to see the field and make decisions and to read the field. Watch him position himself there in the middle, in a both threatening position and in a position with both time and space. Sometimes your off-ball square up will be more distinct. Watch this player cutting through and then popping out, giving himself the time and the space in order to make his next decision.
There are a couple cuts that we use that I think are important to talk about. And one is the V cut. And the V cut basically is a cut that we use to open up passing lanes so that the defender is not between a player receiving a pass and the ball coming to a player.
Offensively, we need to learn how to shade too. The shade on offense opens up passing and cutting lanes for us. The V cut is the technique we use to shade on offense. Here, the cutter takes advantage of the ball going from one side of the field to the other in his shade. When the defense plays us high, we take them higher and cut low. When the defense plays us low, we shade them lower and cut high, again using our V cut. The first move we're going to teach is the speed move. It is speed and the threat of speed that will put the defense on its heels and allow you more time and space. Watch 44 use his speed to open up a passing lane for himself. Here's another great example of a V cut. Shade into the middle, open up passing lanes, and use speed coming down the pipe to score the goal. Here's another perfect example. Watch the midi out top using his speed to create separation. If we can push our man back with tremendous speed or the threat of speed, we then need to be able to stop on a dime to execute the next move we teach, called the counter move. It's vital that you sell your speed to get the hips of your defenseman turned in the direction that you're going. Then you can cut back against the grain and execute a perfect counter move. Here again, the defensive player is shutting down a passing lane. The offensive player cuts back hard against the grain. On the basketball court, it's easy to see and easy to practice why these moves work so well. Remember, threatening moves and sharp cuts are what it takes to get open. The third move we teach are the turns. This is where you turn your back to the defense. It has both its advantages and its disadvantages. One advantage of turning your back to your defender is that it oftentimes will allow you to protect your stick from him. Here, as you can see, the player off the ball turning has an open stick for the feed. Another advantage of the turn, as seen here by the player off the ball, is it doesn't allow the defense to jam you up when you're trying to make a cut. Still, there's another advantage to turning your back to the defense. It's a deceptive cut, as the defense doesn't think that you will cut in the direction that your back is facing. Here again, the defense is fooled by a quick turn to the outside. The next thing we want to teach is once we get a step on our man is to cut him off, like the player off the ball just did there. If we can cut off our defender, it allows us to keep him behind us or allows us an easy pop out. Here, the player off the ball cuts his man off and allows himself for a perfect pop out. Here again, he cuts his man off, creating space for a perfect pop out. Here's a perfect example of what happens when a player does not cut off his man when he's making his move. The pass is going to go across the field, and the player off the ball clearly has a step, but because he does not cut off his man can then meet him on a perfect angle to the ball. The fourth move we're going to teach is the pop out, or a cut to the perimeter. When your man is playing low or is threatened by your speed, he will oftentimes sag off you, leaving a perfect opportunity for a pop out, just like this. The pop out is probably one of the most underused moves in the game. Watch 44 execute a perfect pop out. Here again in slow motion, faking inside and popping out as his man is stuck between him and the cage. In basketball, it's called a post flash, a virtually unstoppable move. The give and go is the greatest play in the game of lacrosse. Here are some perfect examples of the greatest play in the game. Whenever you pass the ball, the defense is relieved that you didn't go one-on-one. Therefore, they relax. That's when we take advantage. Whether you're around the cage or in the open field, the give and go is still the greatest play in the game. Here, the defense overplays to the perimeter. A give and go towards the cage works beautiful. One thing to remember is whenever you catch the ball, you should be ready to feed the give and go. While the give and go is the greatest play in the game of lacrosse, the give and stand there is probably the worst play. So let's not be guilty of the give and stand there. Let's always look for the give and go.
Man's gonna start with a ball right here. He's gonna throw it over here. If this man sags off me, I'm gonna try to jump right here and get the ball on a jump. All right? If he shuts off the jump, all right, play strong. I'm gonna fake like I'm going here and backdoor him. Okay? Feed if he's open. Next one, okay? If he shuts off both of those. Okay, he's playing me real tight, hard guard me. I'm gonna go here, push off and pop out right here and get a shot right here.
The jump cut is one of the most underused cuts in the game of lacrosse. It's when you cut in between your man and the ball. In basketball, defenses are predicated upon stopping the jump cut. In lacrosse, we do not take enough advantage of the jump cut. The second read we're going to teach is the back cut. A back cut is a cut to the cage behind your man and is a devastating cut when he's playing you to the ball side. Here's a perfect example of a back cut. Another advantage of the back cut is it causes your defender to take his eyes off either you or the ball. The third read we're going to teach is the pop out, which is again a cut to the perimeter away from your defense. Watch number 36 on defense as he stays below the pick and number 3 pops out for an open shooting opportunity. Here are some ways to work on your off-ball control. Firstly, one on nobody is a great way to work on timing and speed. One-on-one is a great way to work on timing, speed, as well as your different reads. Here in this 3-on-2 drill, we're working on off-ball control. The players are working to get open adjacent to the ball. The defensive players are involved as well. They're trying to stay in their flat triangles between the man and the ball and trying to knock down and intercept passes. Here is a 4-on-2 drill in which our main focus is to work on the greatest play in lacrosse, the give and go. Watch how most of these players are executing the give and go on every single pass, while maintaining good spacing between each other. This is also great for the cross control. Unevens are a great place to develop off-ball control. Defensively, we're still trying to pick off passes and position ourselves in passing lanes, while offensively, we want to try to position ourselves where we can see the field as well as be a threat to score.
You get a blue shirt on, we go 4 and 3 now. All right, 4 and 3, I want 2 passes. You can't hold the ball more than 5 seconds. We want give and go out here. All right? You get the ball, you pass, you go. Okay? Let's just walk through it. I want 2 passes before you shoot. Jamie's got to be in here. Defense, I want to play hard pressure on the ball. All right? Flat triangles out here. Pass and cut, move to the ball, that's it.
Notice in our 4-on-3 drill, we're still working on our give and goes. We're not playing in a stagnant box. We're passing, cutting, and moving.
5-second rule. Can't hold this up. 5 seconds. Can't hold the ball more than 5 seconds, gang. 5 seconds of turnover. Ready? Play.
A 5-second rule is a great rule to employ in any practice situation. It causes the offense to move the ball, and it really causes them to look for those give and goes and quick ball movement scores.
Listen up, listen up. This is what I want now. I want a double, okay, if you can. Within 5 yards of the ball, you can double the ball, and you can switch. All right, Dave? Offense, you know what we're talking about? All right, make your calls now. You know your double team's coming. All right, you know the switch is coming. Go.
By telling the defense to double team all over the field, it causes the offense to learn how to get open in these situations. The 4th section of the run and shoot lacrosse progression is ball control, or the ability to penetrate the defense both through dodging and feeding and the skills necessary to prevent penetration. With the development and mastery of off-ball footwork and position, this section will teach stick position and defensive technique, allowing you to become a multi-dimensional player. The first thing that we teach in ball control defense is the shade. We do not want our offensive player to have the option of driving left or right. We want to take away one of his options by shading the other one with our body. Here you can see the defender covering the attackman behind the cage. His shade is such that he does not want the player to front swing on him or come into the middle. But notice how he overplays a move behind the cage where the player is not dangerous, allowing the player to come around and score on the front swing. Here's a perfect example of a good defensive shade. The body position of the defense will not allow the offensive player to front swing, but rather to make an inside move. Here, the defensive shade is employed against a midi out top. Notice that the defensive player forces the midi down the wing to less shooting angle, all the while keeping his body slightly upfield so as not to allow the rollback and/or a front swing. Good footwork is the foundation of solid one-on-one defense. Notice that the defensive player is maintaining a cushion of space between himself and his man. This cushion is vital for good defense. The way that we maintain the cushion is by drop stepping. Watch as the offensive player changes direction, the defensive player drop steps to maintain that cushion of space. Here in a live situation, you can watch solid footwork. As the offensive player gains a step, watch the defensive player cut through the crease and maintain a good shade. Here in our ladder drill that we use in athletic skills, we're working on patting down and breaking down. This skill is vital as we approach a man. Watch here as a defenseman breaks down to get into solid defensive position as he approaches his man. One-on-one defense is very much like bump and run defense in football. Watch how the defensive player bumps the offensive player to get him going slightly off course. The next thing we're going to teach are the holds. When a player intrudes our defensive space close to our cage, we must be able to apply physical pressure to them by applying the holds. There are many variations of 2 basic holds. The butt fist hold, which you're seeing here, as well as the V hold, which you're seeing here. It is vital that while applying the holds, we must keep our feet moving and maintain our shade. We must never lunge. We should only let our offensive player come into us as we're pushing off on the holds. Again, the V hold, utilizing the forearm and the stick, or the butt fist hold, when you put your bottom hand on the back of the offensive player. Here again is an example of great footwork and great holds. The player cuts through the crease to cut off the man, maintaining his shade, bodying him out as he gets into a dangerous area while maintaining great footwork. Here is an example of the V hold. Notice the body position. There are many variations of how people want the feet, but the bottom line is your body must be upfield. On the butt fist hold, again, the body must be upfield from the offensive player so as not to allow the front swing. Wait for that stick to show and come down on it.
The key to throwing checks is to try and disrupt the offense. Just like in basketball, when a guard's driving right-handed, you try to slide over and force him to go back left-handed. That's the same thing with lacrosse. When you're throwing the poke check and the guy's driving left, you try to throw something to kind of alter the timing of his offense. Try to turn him back, make it different decisions.
So the first check we're going to teach is the poke check. People hate to be poked so much that the poke check can actually deter a dodger. Notice the poke and drop. Poke check and drop step together.
I think for our sakes, defensively, when we're throwing these checks, we'll start with the poke check, is, you want to time what the offensive player is doing. You want to poke check as his rhythm. He's got a little rhythm going, driving right-handed or left-handed. You're poking right on his gloves.
Here, we're working on the poke check and the slap check. Notice the defensive player maintains his cushion of space by drop stepping every time the offensive player comes closer. Here, a poke check sets up a nice takeaway. Here we're working on the poke wrap. You slide your stick in for the poke and then pull it out. Here's a live example of the poke wrap. The back check is simply a slap check to the back side of the offensive player. Here is the deep wrap. The deep wrap is very effective, especially when an offensive player is coming to a stop to change direction. Watch here. Short sticks can throw effective deep wraps too. And here's another great deep wrap as a player changes direction. Now we're working on the one-handed wrap. Notice that the left hand pulls the stick as the right hand rotates it around. Here's a great one-handed wrap check that dislodges the ball. Here's a perfect example of utilizing both body and checks together. Watch the bump and then the check. This is called the chop check. By lifting your stick over the head of the attacker, it causes the attacker to pull his stick forward, thus giving you a good opportunity to check the stick. Here, we're working on the slap check to set up the over-the-head chop. You'll be able to see the same thing in a live situation here. The over-the-head check is a devastating check. However, it can leave the defensive player in very bad position. Here, if number 5 tucks his stick as number 34 goes over his head, it's going to be a certain goal. Here we're working on the dig. Notice that the poke check sets up the dig for the butt end of the offensive player. Here again in slow motion, the poke check sets up the dig of the butt end of the offensive player.
Another check is the kayak check, which is when a guy is coming on you, attackman or a midfielder's coming on you individual one-on-one defense, and he's driving hard and he's leaning in on you, you can slide your fist up to the neck of the stick and throw a kayak, which is throwing the butt end around the attackman or the midfielder. Next is the pencil check, which is when you're driving, if a lefty's driving against you or a righty's driving against you, and I'm a right-hander, I like to slide my fist up to the neck of the stick and drag it over the head of the attackman.
Here, we're working on throwing checks and combinations. We always want to throw a check in a combination. Notice the poke, the dig, and the chop. 3 things to remember are throw checks and combinations. Never expect the ball to be taken away and to use your stick as a foil and not a saber. If you're ever in a situation where your man is beating you, or if you're playing an outside upfield shade, hang your stick over his inside shoulder and wait for that stick to show and chop down on it. Here's a perfect example of it. The offensive player gets a defensive player out of position, but the defensive player remains calm and disciplined and waits for the stick to show as the offensive player goes to shoot. The first thing that we want to emphasize in our ball control section is the ability to see the field. The ability to see the field is what separates all good athletes from great ones. Whether you're a long stick or a short stick, the ability to see the field and make the play is going to be crucial for your team's success. The technique that we teach for seeing the field is called squaring up. You can either square up with the ball or square up off the ball. Here, number 4 is already squared up, can already see the field. But number 10 here catches a ball and creates space so that he can see the field and make a play, just like number 5 is. Squaring up also gives your offense a sense of timing. Many times, players will automatically turn their backs to the defense when they're stopped by a defensive player, when re-squaring up is oftentimes the play to make. The second concept we teach is shading. It is exactly like shading off the ball. We're trying to set up opportunities for penetration. A V-cut is a perfect way to shade. Notice number 5 shades towards the cage and gets his defender out of position. A long stick shades towards the middle of the field to set up the sideline move. The next concept we want to teach is that of being deceptive. By faking passes and shots as much as possible, you can get the defense out of position. Watch this shot fake lead to a brilliant move and a great shot. Just like in basketball, where you fake your jump shot to set up your moves, we want to do the same thing in lacrosse as much as possible. The last thing to think about before we teach the moves is that we have to have a low center of gravity to be effective. And look at the still pictures of these players and how low their hips are. The speed move is the first move that we want to teach. Again, if you can threaten the defense with speed, then you can set up all the rest of your moves. You put the defense on their heels. Watch this move go from slow to fast. An important element of the speed move is changing your speeds, from fast to slow, from slow to fast, or from fast to slow to fast. Here's an example of a speed move to the middle of the field, where the shooting angle increases with every step. We should attempt to make our moves into the middle of the field whenever possible. This is called a dip dodge. It's a speed move in which we bring the stick across our body and drive down the field, trying to get our sticks back to the inside if possible. Here it's seen in a game situation. Again, the key to the speed move is pushing your man back and threatening to blow by him. Here, when a defensive player lunges at you because of a fake shot or pass, a face dodge is a great way to beat him in a one-on-one situation. It's similar to the dip dodge. The second move we teach is the counter move. Once we've been able to threaten our man and get him to turn to run with us, a pat down will allow us to stop and change direction. Watch here. Watch the defensive player's left foot cross over as he is threatened by the offensive player. Here again, the player will turn his hips to the inside and the offensive player will make a sharp cut to the outside. One more time, the defensive player will turn his hips to the outside as the offensive player then cuts back to the inside. In many cases, when we execute a counter move, we need to switch hands. The first way that we wish to teach you is called the pull move. Watch 30 as he pulls with his left hand the stick across his body. Here again is the pull move. It's a very quick and deceptive way to change hands. One of the advantages of the pull move, as seen here by Tom Carmine, allows you to shoot or pass immediately. The split dodge, executed here by Andy Towers, is executed by pulling the stick across your body. Watch here as the stick is pulled across the body. Here, Jim McAlevey demonstrates the double switch. He pulls to the left, he pulls it back to the right. This move takes a tremendous amount of skill. Being able to switch hands quickly and pass immediately is a valuable skill to have. The next move is called the cross under move, in which we're pushing the stick across our body under the defense. Watch here. Again, we sell the defense that we're going in one direction and then we cross under the other. Here's a split dodge in which the offensive player, Mark Millen, pushes the stick across his body. This move is called the crossover move. The offensive player crosses over the stick or the body of the defense. The next move we'd like to teach does not involve switching hands. It's called the inside-out move. It's a fake dip dodge or a fake face dodge in which the offensive player fakes with his body and stick as if he's going to switch hands, but then doesn't. Watch here as the player executes an inside-out move. Here, Chip Mayer pulls with his right hand and moves his left hand over to make it look to the defense like he's going to go one direction. One of the advantages of the inside-out move is that you don't have to switch hands. Not having to switch hands allows you to get closer to your defensive player. Here's a beautiful inside-out move. Next, we need to learn hesitation moves, which are essentially just fake counter moves. Watch here as Jim McAlevey executes great hesitations. He fakes his counter move by slowing down, by stopping and going. It's a great way to keep your defenseman on his heels. The third move we're going to teach is called the turn. This is when we turn our back to the defense. Many times when we sell our speed so hard, we have no choice but to turn or get jammed up by the defense. The turn is very effective because it protects our stick from the defense. However, we do not want to rely on the turn as our core move. The speed move and counter move are quicker. While the turn is a great move, the problem is we lose sight of the field. Remember, with regard to stick protection, you should think about changing hands as if you were spinning while dribbling a basketball. Remember, when executing a roll dodge and turning your back to the defense, do not switch hands until you're out of your move. If you switch hands too early, this will happen. Here's an example of an inside roll. When the defense plays you so high, so concerned about your front swing, that you can roll to the inside, turning your back to the defense and setting up a nice move with your stick still to the inside. Here, we see the attackman do a stop and go or a hesitation move, which sets up his inside roll as the defensive player is so concerned about the front swing. This is an example of a question mark move from the midfield. The player is driving into the middle and is stopped from penetrating into the middle, allowing him to roll back to the outside and score. Here's Dennis Goldstein, who made a living on the question mark move. The question mark move can also come from the midfield driving down towards the cage. The question mark move is a great move. Here it is at its best. The question mark move can come in all shapes and sizes, big players or small quick players like this one. The final turn move is called a rocker step, in which we fake with our upper body and rock to the outside as if we were going to do a question mark or an inside roll, allowing us to come into the middle. Here's another one. As soon as we gain a step on our man, utilizing any of our moves, we must cut him off, like number 4 does for Harvard. Here we'll see a few more examples of the player with the ball cutting off the defense. By cutting off the defense, you keep them out of position behind you, which allows you to dictate the play. Many times, cutting your man off allows you to come back into the middle or keeps your defense behind you. Off a roll, the same thing. But this player could just as easily pop to the outside. He is completely dictating the play because he cut his man off. Cutting the man off here allows the player to bring his stick to the inside, giving him a great shooting angle. Watch here as the attackman pops up and cuts his man off. As he's cutting his man off here, he has all the space in the world to pop out into and make any kind of feed or shot. Which brings us to our 4th move, the pop out. When a defense sags in on us, or if we have cut him off, many times the pop out will allow us to have our hands free to feed or shoot, or to give us new angles to dodge, like this. Watch this pop out create new dodging opportunities for the attacker. A great feeder is one of the most valuable weapons a team can have. A good feed is instant penetration. What does it take to be a good feeder? It takes great field vision, it takes great stick work to put the pass on the money, and it takes great anticipation.
His ability to be able to recognize the full field, he had great peripheral vision. In fact, his ability with peripheral vision made him a tremendous backcourt player in basketball also. And a nice feature about that is that he could find the open man, and he was always challenging the defense, which means that he would always attempt to put a ball in a position where the defense of the goalie never thought someone would pass the ball. Yet his teammates who worked with him every day religiously realized that on a given signal, he could have the ball about 2 or 3 steps in front of him. They would catch the ball on a quick move without breaking stride, be able to put the ball in a cage. It's really beautiful to see that.
So to be an effective feeder, we must first see the field. Secondly, we must throw an accurate pass. But an accurate pass isn't good enough. We must throw a pass that's easy to catch, and the overhand passes encompass both of those factors, both accuracy and an easy pass to catch. Watch here as the offensive player anticipates and throws what's known as a spot feed to the attacking player. Here's a nice overhand pass, easy to catch, a nice assist. Many times, carrying the ball like this will open up new feeding opportunities as it distorts the flat triangles of the defense. Deception is a big key in feeding. The defense is always looking to anticipate and pick off passes, so we need to fake as much as we can. Here, a look-away pass does the trick. Watch the footwork of number 30, the feeder, constantly keeping his feet moving as he looks and scans the field for the feed. We need to attack the cage the same way we do when we're going one-on-one to score. In order to get our hands free, we will execute the exact same 4 moves that we use in order to go one-on-one on and off the ball. Here you see a stop, a go, and a pop out free the feeder's hands up, although the defense is playing nice defense on him. Here we see a question mark move. Here comes a double team. Here's the question mark for the wide open shot. It's vital to put the pressure on the defense. Here's a nice dodge and dump. Should have been a goal. The first drill that we're going to use to develop our dodging skills is called the 1-on-2 drill. The 1-on-2 drill allows us, first of all, to see the field. We enclose the space in a 10x10 grid and have the two players play defense with a basketball style, playing primarily footwork and bumping with the body. All of our moves can be seen here. The offensive player must get low and pick a place to go, try to split the defense or run around it. Next, we work on one-on-nobody moves, similar to our off-ball. We feel if we can master the footwork and the speed of our moves, that we're going to be in great shape when it comes to live one-on-one. So we go off-ball as often as we go on-ball to develop our speed. Once we've developed our speed, counter, and turns, we have to learn how to get our shot off on the corner by cutting off our man and executing moves like the question mark. The alley drill is a drill in which we utilize the alleys on the sides of the field and we work on different moves. Here we're working on the defensive footwork, checks, and holds, and on offense, we're working on our cross-unders, our crossovers, and our splits. We will even line the offense up ahead of the defense so the defense can practice playing in a beaten situation. Here, we're working on feeding. The player off the ball raises his stick when he wants to feed, and the player with the ball must get his hands free. Then he must get open off the ball. So this is a great drill, teaching moves on the ball for feeding and off the ball for getting open. Nice cutoff, get open, excellent. Here, we have a double team drill in the alley. The fifth and final section of the program is field control. We have now taught all of the individual skills in the game of lacrosse. The next step is to teach how they are applied in a team concept. We will teach you the basics of a sagging, helping defense, as well as a motion offense geared toward creating opportunities for ball penetration of the defense. The two major concepts in field control are creating scoring opportunities offensively while stopping scoring opportunities defensively. We want to create scoring opportunities through penetration of the ball, through the dodge and through the feed. While defensively, we must stop this penetration by playing solid one-on-one defense and help defense, as well as picking off passes off the ball. Offensive field control begins as soon as we get the ball. While possession is key, it is vital in our defensive half of the field. All players must be able to play offense and defense if they want to be complete players. The main focus then, both offensively and defensively, is the ball. Only the man with the ball can score. So therefore, defensively, at all costs, we must stop the ball. And offensively, we must facilitate the penetration of the ball. It is vital that the offense knows what the defense is trying to do so that they can better take advantage of how the defense is playing them. The main objective of field control defense is to prevent the good scoring opportunity. The major keys that we will teach are first, talk. The second, anticipation. The third, flat triangles and help and recover position off the ball. Fourth, giving up space for time. And fifth, knowing the shooting arcs and the shooting angles of the offense. Here's an example of great transition defense in which all of these facets are employed. As we said before, the ball is the primary responsibility. We must stop the ball through the dodge and the feed. First, we'll talk about how to stop the dodge. We must play solid one-on-one defense at all times. We also must play solid help and recover position off the ball. Here we see both. The defense is sloughed to the ball side, and at the same time, there is good pressure on the feeders. Even your attackmen must play solid one-on-one defense. Here's a great example of good offense and defense. But look at the players off the ball, playing solid position and help position. The next thing that we must have to play solid one-on-one defense is the proper shade. Watch number 17 on the ball right now with his body shaded slightly upfield so that the ball carrier must make an inside move. The players off the ball are watching the ball and in a solid help position. Here again is an example of great one-on-one defense and great help position. Delay, help, delay, and help. Giving up space for time is exhibited perfectly here. Here's another example of good shade. The defensive position is upfield, forcing the player to go on an inside move, behind the cage where he cannot score. Here's an example of a bad shade. Notice the man approaching the ball takes a low angle, allowing the ball carrier an easy front swing and a score. Off the ball, we must stop penetration as well. Firstly, by putting good pressure on the feeder, as we see here. Here's a good example of the kind of pressure and footwork you must have.
Team defense and individual defense are the things that really wins championships. The main facts of that are three. One is a flat triangle. The second is help and recovery, and the last one is try and keep yourself between the ball and the man at all times. On the board right now, what we have is four different offensive players, and the ball being in this position right up here. And what we'd like to talk about is where the defense should be playing. This dictates what the offense is going to do off the ball. In this position here, when the ball's in this position here, we want to create a flat triangle where you're going to be one step away from the man and as close to the ball as you can be without having that man get an advantage off the ball. So we want a defenseman right here. And this is a triangle he forms where he can play the man and he can play the ball. If this man's beaten, he's in a position to help on him and also recover to his man. In this position here where the man is the furthest away from the ball, he wants to be as close to the ball as he can. So the further your man is away from the ball, the closer you can be to the man. So this man would be off no further than the backside of the crease here, in this position right here. Depending on your defense, he can be low or he can be high. Most of the time we like to play low on that man, so the flat triangle causes like this. This man can interfere with anybody cutting across in here. Again, this man's fairly far away from the ball, not a real threat, immediate threat to the ball, so we want this defenseman in this position right here. This man here is the next man to receive the ball, so he has to be a little bit closer to his man in this position here, forming a very flat triangle here. This triangle is right here. You can see all our defensive people are basically inside this area, creating a very tough area to get through there, almost like a zone. It's a sloughing man-to-man playing to the ball. At all times, we want our defensemen watching the ball. The ball is the #1 priority in our defense, and most defenses have that as their primary responsibility.
Here's an example of some great team defense. First, watch the players off the ball. They're for the most part in a flat triangle between their man and the ball and watching the ball at the same time. As the short stick penetrates on our short stick, you can see number 47 in his help position. He helps to stop the dodge, yet still is able to recover to his man. The men on the crease are in a flat triangle and knock down the ball. Here are some examples of good flat triangles and nice pickoffs. Many times, as a defender, you can entice a feeder to throw the ball right where you want him to throw it, in your stick. Here's an example of a great flat triangle, enticing the feeder to throw the ball, and you can still make the play.
The second thing that I mentioned is help and recovery. We do a lot of drills where this defenseman, and these people off the ball have to help on the ball if there's penetration. At the same time, recover to their man. We work this all the time. These are the two main things that the offensive man wants to create. They want to break up the flat triangle and create a situation where the backup people cannot help and recover.
Here are some examples of great help and recover defense. First of all, notice that the ball carrier, although slips, is able to make the play and get it to X, which is a great play. The ball then goes backside, which is a very difficult adjustment for the defense to make. Yet, the defenders are there in their help and recover mode, helping on the ball penetration here and recovering back just enough to deflect the shot. Here's another example of help and recover. Notice the player high on the crease defensively is ready to help in a sliding position. He can actually fake the slide here and force the ball carrier to throw it. He really should have probably picked this ball off, but he's still there to help and recover. Let's look at another example of help and recover defense. Look at the defensive position, packed into the middle, not allowing the ball to penetrate. Here, the defender delays, and then is still able to recover back to his man, even though he is receiving help. This is great team defense right here. Finally, the offense must pull the ball out and start over. Here's another example of team defense. Look at the help position that slows the ball carrier down enough to allow the defender to check his stick.
Flat triangle, again, is easy to maintain as long as one of these two positions are being held. If the ball is in one relative position or your man stays in the same relative position, it's very easy to play. And it's fairly easy to play if one of these two, the man or the ball, is moving. But once the ball starts moving in either direction and your man starts moving, it creates major problems for you defensively to maintain that triangle, as well as maintain the recovery and help position, as well as maintain the position of keeping yourself between the ball and the man. The main thing here is the ball, you, man. You always want to be between the ball and the man. The main priority, again, is the ball, not your man. We want to make sure we prevent the ball from penetrating at all times.
With solid team defensive position on and off the ball, your defense can become your offense.
Okay, another important aspect of the game is that if you are moving without the ball and you're having your player occupied, it's going to create scoring opportunities for other teammates. And there's a simple rule that we use. We either want, as an offensive player, we want our offensive players to think score or to create a scoring opportunity for another player. One of the ways to do that is to keep your man occupied, because then it creates one-on-one situations and it takes that defensive player out of a help position.
Here, we would like to go over the 4 options of the ball carrier. The first option is to shoot. If you have an open shot, by all means take it. This is the ultimate penetration of the ball. The second option of the ball carrier is going one-on-one, taking the ball to the cage. If you have an open lane to the cage, or if you like your matchup, by all means, take it to the cage, for this is great penetration. Here's a great example of ball penetration through the dodge. The third option is the feed. A good feed is instant penetration and is a necessary part of any good team offense. So our first option is to shoot, our second option is to dodge, and our third option is to feed. If the defense you're facing has done a good job shutting down your options of penetration, your fourth option then is moving the ball to or through X behind or point out top. Here's a great example of why moving the ball to X is a great play. Moving the ball through X or through point opens up new options because it distorts the flat triangle of the defense, thus opening up passing and dodging angles. Watch here how the ball moves through X, and the whole backside of the field is wide open for cutters. Any team that plays a strong ball side defense, which most good teams do, cannot cover both the ball side and the backside. Here's another example, the ball moving through point for a great backside pop out. Here's another example, a ground ball, a quick move across through point, great play. Once we've passed the ball, we become a cutter. And as we stated earlier, our first look is for the give and go, the best play in lacrosse. The cut off the ball is very important for penetration. If you can create separation from your defenseman off the ball, it will allow a good feeder to penetrate the defense through his feet. Another option available to you is occupying your man, as the man at X is doing to his defenseman. Here, watch number 10, the attackman who is mirroring the man with the ball. Every time the man carrying the ball comes to his direction, number 10 mirrors him around the crease, creating space for the ball to penetrate through the dodge. Number 3 is also creating space by moving up and away from the ball to keep his defenseman out of a help position. Notice the cutter moving out of the way, anticipating a dodge. Here's another example. Number 5, create space, anticipating that the ball carrier may want to go one-on-one. Creating space then is facilitating penetration of the ball. And the last option we have is replacing. Watch 13, creating space and then replacing himself as number 2 backs off to replace as well for quick ball movement. Finally, we have the option off the ball of setting screens. And there are 3 screens that we teach. The down screen, as depicted here, in which the screener's back is to the ball. The back screen, as depicted here, in which the screener's back is to the cage. And finally, the cross screen, in which the screen comes across the field. There are 5 fundamental techniques and concepts that must be mastered in order to have a solid screening game. The first is communication. The screener must call the name of the cutter in order to have proper communication between the two. Second, the screener must actually try to pick off the defense covering the cutter. He must aim for the defender who's covering the cutter to have an effective screen. Third, the cutter must shade by utilizing a V-cut and cut shoulder to shoulder off the screen so as not to allow the defense to slip in between. Fourth, the angle of the screen must come from the inside of the field to the outside of the field to be most effective. In addition, if the screener himself can have an angle conducive to the cut, this would be most effective as well. And fifth, it's vital that both the screener and the cutter learn how to read the defense and read the screens. We have already taught the reads, the jump, the back cut, and the pop out. Here's a perfect example of a pop out as the defense sags in. An important factor in reading screens is determining whether the defense is playing man-to-man or switching. Here you'll see one of the options on a switching defense as the screener slips to the inside, known as a slip screen, for the wide open shot. The second option in a switching defense is when the screener pops out as the defenseman switching is too far inside. Here number 3 does a great pop out as the defense sags in underneath the screen. Oftentimes, it is the screener who is open as both defenders are concerned about the cutter leaving the screener wide open on this pop out. Here, we're showing the difference between a pick and a seal. Here's another example of sealing one's own man to set up a pop out for a teammate. Look at the player's stacked backside. One seals his own man, enabling his teammate to get open for an easy pop out. Next, we want to teach picks on the ball. And we teach them in the same way, utilizing the same angles of screens and the same rules of communication. The basketball court is one of the best places to practice your pick and roll. Here's a perfect pick and roll right here. In lacrosse, you'll see a pick and roll right here. A pick on the ball. Both defensemen follow the man with the ball, leaving the screener wide open. Here, both players go with the man with the ball. Here's another example of a great pick and roll. Notice the player with the ball utilizing a rocker move to set up a pick on the ball. Here, the player off the ball seals his own man in this on-ball picking situation. Here's an example of the flip being used just like a pick. It puts the defense in a difficult decision-making mode. We have 3 guidelines that we like to use in teaching offensive field control. The first is see the field. We must be able to see the field to anticipate what's going to happen out there. We must also be able to see the field in order to read the defense properly. And we must be able to see the field with the element of timing and squaring up. Any offense needs good timing. The ball must hold its position in order to give the off-ball players a chance to move. Here, the player off the ball positions himself perfectly, squares up off the ball, putting himself in a position where he can run past the overcommitting defense. Our second rule is that of balance and spacing. We want spacing of 8 to 12 yards ideally, and we want balance of at least one player out top and one player behind the cage in order to prevent the fast break and to back up the cage on shots. And the third guideline is no 2 cuts to the same place and do not cut to an occupied space. Now let's look at some ways to develop your team offense. First, running your screening drills, starting off 2 on nobody, is a great way to develop timing.
Second, run your screening drills so that you have one-on-one plus an open screener. You can then script the defense so that the offensive player must learn the appropriate read, which here is a pop-out. Next, you can run 2-on-2 ball side off-ball screens. Here's an example in which the defense is scripted to switch, thereby teaching the offense how to make the appropriate read. Picking on the ball, we will do the same action. 2-on-nobody to 1-on-1 plus 1 to 2-on-2. Here our 2-on-2 drill is done in the alleyway between the sideline and the side of the box. This confined space is a great place to develop 2-on-2 picking and flipping action. Playing against short sticks is a must. It helps both develop the defense and their footwork, as well as the offense and their timing.
The growth of lacrosse in this country is both staggering and exciting. With hard work, any athlete can become a better lacrosse player by following the teachings of the run and shoot lacrosse progression. We have taught thousands of young players at our clinics and camps all over the country while we continue to develop new and better ways of teaching the fastest game on 2 feet. We hope you've enjoyed your exposure to the run and shoot lacrosse progression, and we would like to leave you with a quote from Hall of Fame basketball coach John Wooden. "Don't mistake activity for achievement. Practice it the right way."